I emptied my bank account to buy those two agencies, and
risk.
I had a significant amount of money. We'll say like over $250,000.
Wow.
That I had saved, and I spent every single penny of it to buy these two agencies.
So you were saying you did really well at the car, or as the dealership, as a sales position.
Yeah, I did really well at the car dealership, and I liked it. I really liked helping people. I liked the success that I had from it. Made a lot more money than I was making before. Through that job, I was able to buy my first house in Emmaus, which was a monumental thing. And right after I bought my house, my first house, I got a job at JD Byrider, which was another car dealership group, but it was my wife did nannying when she went to college to kind of pay the bills, and that guy started a car dealership, and she was just still doing it part-time even when she was working at Saucon Valley Middle School. And one night I was over there and I was just telling him like, I do really well at this car dealership, and he's like, I'm opening a car dealership. So he said, I'll hire you and I'll give you a little bit better opportunity and some more stuff. So I did. I changed my mind and went to a different direction and started there. And that started in 2002. And for the next 7 years, I worked there. And during that time, my son was born, Joseph, after Natalie. My daughter was born, Kate, back in 2009. But that job really solidified that I was very good at sales. That job, I was the salesperson of the year all 7 years that I was there. I think I broke every single record for the company for sales. It just really was a good opportunity for me to grow. So you're talking like early 20s to late 20s.
Wow.
During that period of time. So I ended up stopping when I was 27. So it was like maybe for like 21 to 27 or 20 to 27, somewhere in that ballpark was.
So in that time frame, you made a lot of money.
So during that time frame, yeah, that was a big step forward in income. I was able to save a tremendous amount of money. I had a vision early on that I wanted to do something myself, some sort of business. I don't think I had a clear vision of what that was going to be, but I had a lot of influences in my life who owned businesses, and I thought to myself, like, that's me. Like, I'm very confident in who I am and my abilities, and I felt like if I'm working for somebody else, I'm not as in control of where my life can go. I can only hit the cap where they allow me to go, and I didn't like that. Some people really find a lot of safety in being with an employer and them being in control so that they don't have any of that pressure, and I was completely reversed. Like, I felt pressure being under control of somebody else.
Yeah, and I think it sounds appealing, like not to be under control of anyone. Like, I think most humans would mostly agree with that, other than the security and stuff like that, of the benefits of being under. But then once they actually like consider the alternative, which would be a lot more stress and a lot more responsibilities and a lot more on your shoulders and really a risk, because you're not getting that paycheck necessarily if you're doing your own thing. And basically risking your own money to do it. And then they say, you know what? Working for somebody, being under control with somebody else is actually much more appealing.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, it sounds good, but then you get into it. But for you, you found that was.
Yeah, and I was lucky in a way because had the person who owned the car dealership group that I worked for been a different type of person, they were really supportive and helpful and rewarding to me and appreciated me. I don't know how it would have molded my view of working for somebody. But this person, although I made a good amount of money with him, he was difficult. He was a really difficult person to work for. So that probably gave me more incentive to think, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to work for somebody like this. So over the course of that 7 years, I had a plan in my head that I wanted to do something, and I know it's going to take a lot of money. Whatever it is, you start up a business, the more money you can have in reserve at the beginning, the better chance you have of it succeeding because, the first year, 2 years, 3 years, you don't know, could be very tight. And so without any real clear idea of where that was all going to go, I really got tight with money, like saving it, putting it away, not spending it.
Okay.
During that time frame, I also built a house for the first time. So we sold our house in Emmaus and built a house up in Bethlehem Township, and that was actually a really cool time in my life. That's when all my kids were young, and I built this house, and we kind of moved away, which was good, because we weren't super close to Nanette's parents anymore, and we weren't really super close to anybody anymore, and we were still very young and growing, and we just kind of had to like figure it out on our own without a lot of like support or help. And I think in retrospect, looking back, that was really good for us during that season of our lives. But I got to, my son had turned 5. I remember that very clearly. He had turned 5 years old. And when he was young, I put in a tremendous amount of effort at that car dealership. I was working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then that was just the norm, and then plus on top of that sometimes. So I was putting in 60 to 70 hours a week at this job. And when the kids were little, it really wasn't a big issue. They didn't even hardly notice. But I remember my son, Joseph, 5 years old, just telling me one night, like, I don't see you very often. Something like that. I don't see you. And that bothered me. And so I remember thinking, like, something's got to change, I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to work 60, 70 hours a week every week for the rest of my life in perpetuity and never have time with my family. And that stuff started to bother me. And so that's when I really started to make a push towards doing something. And I looked at opening up a car dealership. That was one of my ideas. That didn't work. And then a good friend of mine, Jerry Christian, owned a nationwide insurance agency, and I dealt with him at the car dealership because sometimes people who bought cars needed insurance, and he was a Christian, and he just started to take an interest in me and talk to me and ask me how I felt about things. And as I was getting stressed out about work and not being with my family, I started to talk to him about that, and he would just pray with me a lot and talk to me a lot, and he was a much older guy. And eventually one day I got a phone call out of the blue from the recruiter for Nationwide. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this, but he had gone to him and told him about me.
Okay.
And I didn't ask him to, and I had no vision for insurance at all in my life. That's not something I wanted or even considered. But he felt really like I would be a good fit for it, and he just told this guy to contact me. So, yeah, I was like, sure, I'll sit with you. I'll talk about it. Doesn't hurt, And we got to know each other. His name was Dennis Campbell. He was from Nationwide, also a much older guy in his 60s. And we had breakfast at Perkins for like 6 months, like once a month for 6 months. And we just talked. We just talked about what did I want to accomplish? What did they want to accomplish? And as we were getting close to the end of that 6-month period, he had said to me, is this something maybe you want to give a shot to? Because I think you'd be an excellent fit for it. And at that point, I think I knew that maybe this is something he's going to offer me. And I had been thinking about it too. And, it was a tough decision because it was during the Great Recession of 2008, 7, 8, 9, where we hit that big mortgage crisis, and unemployment was high and the economy was bad. And I had a job where I made over 6 figures. So it was like in a family. So it was like, is this really the time to do it, during a horrible recession when I have a guaranteed job? But I felt really compelled that it was a good choice and a good decision. And prayed about it, talked to my wife about it. My wife fully supported me changing, even though it was risky. And the thing that I needed to do it was a lot of money. You had to come to the table with quite a bit of money. You had to purchase an agency to start. And I did have that money in queue. But I will tell you that, so anyways, I made the decision to do it. Made the decision to leave my job and give notice and make this big transition towards nationwide insurance. And the first step was there was a couple of small agencies that were retiring and they needed to be purchased. And so I had to come up with the purchase price for those 2 agencies. That was a requirement.
Oh, wow.
And so I emptied my bank account to buy those 2 agencies. And
risk.
I had a significant amount of money. We'll say like, over $250,000.
Wow.
That I had saved. And I spent every single penny of it to buy these 2 agencies. And so I remember looking, one day you have that much money in your account, and the next day you have less than $10,000 left, after all of the money that I had to spend to get it started. And that was scary. Yeah, that was really scary. That was a big risk.
And you were late 20s.
Late 20s. I remember sitting with Nationwide during that time where they were trying to help me to decide whether it would be a good fit. And they said, really, like, if you believe 100% in your abilities and what you're capable of, do it. If you don't, if you're shaky about who you are, if you're not sure this is, like, don't do it. And I remember thinking, I believe that if I do this, I'll be really, really good at it. And so, yeah, I just took a huge risk. And that huge risk put immense pressure on me, right? Because now I have no money. I have a job that I went from making six figures to the first year that I did that, I made less than $40,000. So it was like really scary.
Yeah.
Your income dropped massively in the first year after I did it. And they told me that would happen. So I prepared for it, So I was able to work through that first year, get to the other side alive, which was really difficult. I bought those two agencies. I consolidated them into Northampton. They were up north, close to Lehighton. And so I pulled it down into the Northampton area, which is just above Whitehall. I rented an office. I hired one employee, and I got started and just started building the business by writing business myself, insurance, and telling you every detail about how that all got built over the last. It's been 15 years since that happened, and we were able to, through organic growth, just growing the business naturally, me selling. And then I did a bunch of acquisitions of other insurance agencies that were retiring over that 15-year period. So we were able to take the business from, the way insurance works is the evaluation is based off of the amount of money you're servicing. So premium that you're servicing. So when you sell an insurance policy, it's like $1,000 in premium that you're servicing, and you get paid a commission to have that in your agency, manage it, take payments on it, make changes on it, but you're getting paid a commission. So I think when we started the two agencies I bought together had a total premium evaluation of $900,000 total. And you get paid about, back then, you get paid more now, but you used to get paid about 10% of that. So, there was $90,000 in total revenue, but I had an office, insurance, employee, all this other stuff. There wasn't a lot left over from just that small amount.
Obviously, you spent a lot of time educating yourself when it came to insurance and stuff. But, man, that sounds complicated. With the whole insurance in general, how that whole thing works. You're taking money, people's monies, and you're in charge of that whole process. Yeah. And, distributing it and stuff like that.
And you have to get licensed with the state, which requires a board certification that you have to do, which is very difficult test. And you have to learn all this stuff that you had no concept about, before you touched it. And it's very, very boring. Insurance is basically legalese. It's how to write a contract that is enforceable. And so it's not the most exciting topic. It's pretty dry.
No, yeah.
So you have to learn these really dry terms and dry topics, and that's not my brain. My brain likes things that are really fascinating and interesting, not boring facts. You had to learn a tremendous amount in a very short period of time to be able to get this thing up and off the ground.
I feel like that's the key to a lot of people's success, or success in general, is being a really good people person, but then combining your social skills and stuff with boring information. Because if you can get somebody who's a social person to actually sit down and learn certain things, because usually it's the people who are learning those things that aren't good socially. Mm-hmm. So then they struggle to kind of combine that information.
Well, that's the stuff you talked in the beginning about what's innate. So my people skills are innate. Being organized and studying and doing the hard, boring daily tasks that need to be done to run a business is not my strength.
Yeah.
That I have had to really work on. And I was able, I think, to make that transition. It took a while, but I was able to make it from just being this sort of gregarious, dynamic person who could connect with people and convince them of things and get them to do what I wanted. That was great, to this person who paid attention to the details and had a good schedule and was organized and had, financially had an accountant, had an attorney, started to put these things in place, had a good payroll system, like learning all that stuff for a business, like you can be really good at talking to people. I mean, you've met people who are really good at just being flashy and talking to people. That doesn't mean they're organized or structured or disciplined or any of those other things. So all of that other stuff came into play. And during that time, it's just an interesting part of me that I think really helped me change as a human being was I used to be heavy. I used to be over 300 pounds. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I used to be very heavy.
Now, did you get heavy during your 20s when you were making a lot of money, like you were focused on that
during
in
my
your
20s,
family?
after I got married, I got fat and happy. My wife made great food, and I was happy. And like, you have your wife now, so there's like, you don't have to work as hard, right? now I got her. She's stuck with me. I'm going to become heavy. But yeah, no, I got really heavy, and I during that period of time from when I bought the agency till my early 30s, that process from 27 to say 31 and 32, I lost over 100 pounds.
Wow, good for you.
And I did that by I got really into racing, triathlons, cycling, swimming, running. I probably did a half a dozen half marathons. I probably did 24 triathlons. I probably did another 20, like 5Ks, 10Ks. So I went crazy during that time. And what that taught me, though, was
And your wife kind of did that with you, or?
Yeah, my wife got into it. She was actually way better at it than I was from like a competing point of view. She was first place multiple times at triathlons. My wife's very athletic. I was not athletic. I never got first place. I was always trying not to get last place.
No, in a marriage, when you like get big like that, do you like point the finger, like kind of like, this is your fault, like you cook the food?
No, never thought of it that way. No, I took full responsibility for my multiple
Like you
stromboli's
went
per day.
to McDonald's every day?
Yeah, I did. On my day off, I used to go to Burger King, and I would get a triple Whopper with cheese, not a double, triple. And a
No, I
large
got
fry,
a double
and a large
yesterday.
fry, and a Coke, and probably candy bar. Like, yeah, it was my day off. I was going to do what I wanted to do. But no,
You got to have those.
I think that it parallels because like during that time, I really learned discipline. I learned saying no to myself. I learned because I was building a business, but also doing all that stuff. And to do that, you had to be really disciplined. You had to wake up super early to get all that stuff out of the way and still have time to go run your business and build your business. And I used it as a stress relief too. It was very stress relieving to just work out, exercise. But I think in general, just that process of losing that much weight really changed. It showed me like you can be very disciplined. You don't have to just do whatever you want to do. If you want to eat the cheeseburger, you could say no. I showed myself that it was possible to say no to things. And running a business is very similar. You have to learn like what to say yes to, what to say no to, how to structure your day. And that was a big transition period in my life, like 27 to early 30s. I really changed, probably more into the person I am today during that season. And so, going back to the business part of it.
No, wait, how much you weigh now?
Less than 200.
Okay, wow. So that was a big feat for you.
Yeah.
So that kind of showed you probably like what you were made of, like kind of really challenged you in so many different ways, huh?
Yeah, well, like it was cool that period of time during my life. There's so many things that I would hear, like 90% of all new businesses fail in the first 5 years, and then mine didn't. And then nobody loses over 100 pounds, like less than 5% of people can do that. I did it, And then a lot of other things in my life, you can't get married at 19 years old. That never works out. It did. And
That's interesting because I've noticed that even in my own life, I don't consider myself like this winner or whatever, but I hope to be, and that's what I strive for. But the only thing that kind of motivates me or makes me believe that that's possible is things in my past that I've seen in my life. Like I was on a sports team, and I was the kid when I got on the team. Like people weren't really expecting much out of me, and I went in there and I gave my heart and soul to it, and I just had I won everybody over just from playing with passion and like making sure that I did my best on the team. And, I just watched how it was like starting from nothing to like just feeling like a star. Now, of course, it's on like a very small scale.
Yeah.
But that just like makes you like really say, you know what? if that's possible, this is possible, and then like this is possible, and you just keep doing that in your life. And so the reason I bring that up is because I feel like when you're describing kind of where you're at now and like different successes you've had, it's like just seeing it happen once, twice, three times. It's like, it really opens your mind.
Oh yeah.
It's really a mind game.
Well, it builds your belief that it's very, very possible. Before, it's very theoretical. Can I do that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can. I feel a little unconfident. I feel some doubt. But you start stacking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big successes in a row, and you start to become very comfortable with the fact that you can do big things. And so, maybe that's some really good advice to someone starting out. Like, stack a few successes in a row in your life and show yourself, I can do it. I can do that thing. We're capable as people, I think, of way more than we even try for. We're very satisfied with very minimal things in our lives. We don't even push ourselves or try. I mean, the capability of a human being, and especially I read back like around the revolution, what people were capable of, because I mean they just had belief. They talk about like the founding fathers and the writings that they did and the things that they were able to accomplish. And then you read how old they were. They were like 20 or 25, or some of them younger, like Henry Knox, like 17. Like, what is going on? Change the world. It's you don't have to accept that just because I'm a 19-year-old kid, I can't do anything great. You have something when you're 19 that's really cool. And that's jet fuel in your brain. Like, if you've got energy, you're so dumb that you don't even know that like this is stupid to try. When you're older, you're like smart enough to know, oh, that's stupid. Don't try that. You'll fail. But you don't know that when you're 20. And that's a good thing, maybe. Like, you go for things, you try things, you've got unlimited energy. And so don't waste, don't waste your 20s.
Yeah.
Your 20s are a cool time. I mean, you're stupid. You're really stupid, but you're really, really driven, and you've got jet fuel in your veins, and that can carry you a long way through a lot. And you can insulate yourself against stupid. Just have a lot of like smart people in your corner that you talk to, because that's what I did all during my 20s. I had 4 key men in my life that were older guys, and I would take almost every decision to them. And they helped me. They really helped me to not make a lot of stupid decisions that 20-year-old Adam would have made. Where was I before?
I don't know, but I like that point that you bring up, because it's like the installation or however you put that. For me, that's like I never really had too much of that, and of course I probably could have if I really wanted it, but since I got saved and became a Christian, like church is that for me.
Yeah.
And
I wanted that bad when I was young. I didn't have a good relationship with my father, and I think I also had a tremendous chip on my shoulder when I started. I remember my history teacher telling me, "You're a loser. You'll only ever be a loser, and you'll never do anything." Like, my history teacher was rough. And then other people in my life, just like, Adam's a screw up. He's just a loser. He's all the thing. And by the time I hit 19 years old, that message it could defeat somebody for sure, but it didn't. It made me focused. And when I got, especially like marrying Nanette, I knew that was special. Like, Nanette is incredible. She's just an incredible human being. She's loving, she's kind, she's supportive. She is like the best wife you could have in the world. And I knew that. I know that now. I knew that then. And I remember thinking, like, you need to do something special here. Like, you were given this, not doing the minimum and being lazy or whatever. That is not going to be enough for a woman like this. Like, you need to show up. And so that was super motivating to me. Like, be something special for your wife. Like, don't be a slouch. But then also just like the chip on my shoulder for my life. A lot of like what I did in my 20s was always around, oh yeah, I'm going to show you. And at times I was like, there's nobody around me asking me to show them. But in my mind there's all these people doubting me. There's all these people that don't believe in me. And I'm just going to show them all. I'm going to show them all. And yeah, I remember one time, Dennis, that guy I talked to you about, he's like, who are all these people that you're proving things to? I'm like, I don't know.
He even said that.
I don't know.
He
but I just believe all these people don't believe in me. And so there was a huge chip on my shoulder. But the thing about like having like not a great relationship with your dad and stuff like that is like I found that in other older men as I was in my 20s, like key men that I really trusted, Jerry Christian was one of them. He helped me get started. Dennis Campbell was another one. He was older. Brother Ken Barr here at church. Just Pastor Doug Hammett was a huge part of, I mean, when I lost my daughter, Doug Hammett was like, he was my rock. I mean, he was supportive and loving and kind, and he spent weeks on end. I mean, probably a whole year on the phone with me every week, talking to me about this, losing your daughter. And, you know, he lost his dad when he was really young. And so he had a real relatable, like, a feeling about it, experience about it, about losing someone that you loved a lot and how that affects your life. And boy, if I didn't have those kind of men in my life during that season, I can't even imagine. Like, that was really special and important to me.
Wow, that's awesome
to have that. And it's funny because I just read a book called Strength to Strength about transitioning in the second chapter of your life, which is the, you know, they say above 40. And I feel like that's something now that I want to make sure I do too, because like those men did it for me and it really helped me. And you see all these young kids coming up, like my son, who's only 19 years old. And I wanted maybe one day for them to say the same thing. Like, I was really struggling in my 20s and I had an older guy come along and talk to me and help me. And that's so important. So important to have men in your life that you really trust, that'll talk to you and help you and you can be honest with and tell the truth to about everything in your life.
Yeah.
And they'll challenge you. A funny story with Dennis Gamble is many years later, after I had started it, I had won my first sales Agency of the Year award, where our agency was the #1 producing agency in the country. And he took me out to dinner to celebrate. And I spent the entire time talking about myself, like how great I was. And I'm so great, and I did all these great things, and I'm so proud of myself, and no one's ever going to beat me. I mean, I'm full of myself. And he said, wow, you really like writing a headline about yourself and then telling everyone about it, don't you? And I was like, wow, that was harsh. Like, I'm telling him how excited I am. He's like, and then he just kind of put me in my place a little bit. Like, you don't have it all figured out yet, man. Like, stay humble. Like, you know, I'm glad you're doing well. But number one, you know, be humble. Number two, there's more. You haven't figured it all out. There's more to go here. And he just challenged me in that way. Like, and that's good to have an older guy in your life to say, settle down, Junior.
Especially somebody that, you know, like wants your best interest and like actually cares about you.
Years later, he told me, I knew exactly what I was telling you. I was telling you what you needed to hear. The last thing you needed to hear at that point was, yeah, you're so great. You're so awesome. You didn't need to hear that.
Yeah.
You needed to hear, settle down. You don't have it all figured out. Another famous saying from him is, there are other ways than going for someone's jugular to solve a problem. Because that was always me. Like, I would go right to what the answers were, and I'd be direct, and I'd be bold. And in a way, that is good. I mean, there's some good in that. In another way, it really can really hurt people and not be good. And so just a lot of those things he taught me through my 20s, like how to be a man, how to navigate problems in a mature way, how to not be emotional and respond emotionally, like how to be the one who's in control in the room. Like, he taught me all that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And how much older was he?
Very older. So
Okay.
When I'm 30, he's 65. So talking about some guy that's 35 years older than I am.
But he had to like gain your respect in a way so that you would actually listen to him. Because a lot of young people, you know, especially if they're doing well, especially if they feel they're doing better than you, it's like they're not going to listen to you.
Yeah, you want to know what he did? He loved me. And I knew it. I knew he loved me. He really admired me and loved me and cared about me. And so when you love someone and the person really feels that way, then they can be pretty harsh with you. They can be pretty direct with you when they need to be, bold with you when they need to be. And he was at times. I mean, I would make big mistakes and do things that were stupid, and he would call me out on it and challenge me. And then the next day he'd be like, I'm so proud of you. You're amazing. You're doing great work. It was good. And it was good, like, cause, you know, that also taught me, like, how to be an adult with different point of views.
Yeah.
Like, Dennis had a really strong, different point of view. He was a staunch Catholic, but had a strong faith, but definitely different than what I believed. But I just realized, like, you don't have to be a baby when it comes to people feeling differently or thinking differently or having different perspectives. Like, you can work together with people that think differently. That's okay. You can both have strong opinions and both respect each other and both even accomplish great things together. And it really helped me too with this church, because in the beginning you said, like, hey, you stayed. And a lot of people didn't stay. A lot. In my era, a ton of people, if not almost everybody that I
Wow.
grew up with, was gone. Like, they left and they didn't stay. And to this day, many times when I meet people at this point, they're like, "You're still at Lehigh Valley Baptist Church? Like, you haven't left that place yet?" I think, number one, it's a great church. Okay, so the problem really isn't with the church. The problem would be with me if I'm going to leave. But the other thing is, what I learned there and nationwide and in the world was, like, you can be someplace where there's a disagreement, where you don't see eye to eye, but don't be a child and just flush it all down the toilet just because there's some disagreements. Like, okay, then just work through it, respect each other, and keep your eye on the main goal. Like, what's the main goal? What are you trying to accomplish together? And, like, I felt that at this church, like, especially when you're younger. When you're 20 and you've been brought up in this the way I was brought up in it, and you had some of the critical feelings about it the way I had critical feelings about it, it's really easy to get all caught up in yourself and what you think and what you feel and what your preferences are, and just say, I'm going to go find a better church that I like, that makes me happy, and all that other stuff. But then I saw this example over in the work side where, like, wait a minute, you're growing right now because you're being challenged. You're growing because it's hard. And you're becoming a better person and a more successful person, not because everyone's coddling you and telling you everything you want to hear, but because you're being challenged. So why, again, are you having problems with the Lehigh Valley Baptist Church? Well, because I'm being challenged. Wait a minute, you like it over there and it's working for you over there. Why wouldn't you like it over here too?
And I was just talking about this with somebody yesterday. I was like, if there's, if to get saved, you have to humble yourself. You have to come to the end of yourself. But it's kind of like the starting point of doing that, because to stay faithful in church and serving God, you're going to have so many opportunities to be offended and find ways to leave.
Yeah.
And so I just went over that with somebody yesterday. Psalm 119, verse 165, great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them.
Yeah.
And, just you have to get used to, especially if you're going to be challenged, hey, there's going to be some, I'm going to get hit along the way. I'm going to, not physically, but I'm going to, take some punches or whatever. It's not going to be easy all the time. I'm going to not enjoy it. It's going to be very uncomfortable, but this is the best thing for me.
Well, you better, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like the most happy, successful life is one where this is a huge part of your life. Just because I don't see eye to eye, just because I disagree, does not mean I am leaving the situation. Think about how many things in your life, like when you have a family, you know how hard it is to have teenagers? You know how much you feel in your heart, like, this is too hard, or I don't want to do this. But then having, like, the principle in your heart, well, what does that have to do with what I need to do? I still need to be here. I still need to do this, whether I agree or I'm happy or any of those things. This is my job. This is where God put me, and I'm doing it. And in your marriage, how many times are you going to disagree with your wife? How many times are you not going to see eye to eye or be treated a certain way? Just having that principle in your life, like, these are my relationships that matter to me. And yeah, we're going to have some issues we got to work through, but we're never leaving each other.